the stream, I actually did not stream yesterday. I had no reason, but I just completely crashed out. I was super tired, and that's just the way the way it is. It's been an intense last few days, and actually security knocked at my door and asked if I was still alive because it just had not stepped out of my room. It's a bit of a sad event. But anyway, good thing is ton of stuff happens on the app, and today we're looking at the progress that we've made on the app, and then we're also looking at the market as well. So on the app, we've made quite some progress. It's even hard for me to recall everything that was built between yesterday and today, but we've added a notification panel. So we're streaming a few things like product maintenance, or if you get liquidated, or if your limit order gets filled, that gets added to your notification panel. I have to check, honestly. Yeah, we've added the ability to cancel all the pending orders. So if we test this out, 65 is pretty far, but if we place 67, these are small things, but if you press on cancel, it's gonna disappear in settings. We've also added shortcuts, and I think this is also new to you guys, the cancel order confirmation, the buy and sell on the chart. For example, I can toggle this on, this will appear. I can have a nice sound when I get filled. I'm gonna take this out, and then some keyword items, like for example the time frame. If I press 4 now, it's taking me to the hour automatically, and obviously we can add some shortcuts or things that you guys want us to add anytime. We've also added the leverage config, so we have 2x on altcoins and 5x on BTC and ETH. These are things that we might change over time, and we've added some cosmetic items like the logos, for example. I can actually see, it's not the latest version of the app that I'm running now. We have added some live sockets here. So live sockets means that we have real-time updates in the balance, equity, and available, as well as basically everything that you see here is in real time. So it's not when you close the position that we update this stuff. We have, I think, best that we look at our QA board actually. If you're part of the community and want to help, we have this board that's called Product QA on ProprXYZ. You can submit a report, and you'll see on your community tab, you'll see the number of QA contributions that you've made, and then basically your achievements within the community. But let's just stick to what's ready for QA. For example, we've fixed all of this. We've added slippage, for example. So whenever I go on smaller markets like Zcash, we can actually see that there's an issue here. This issue is not available on, is not reproducible on beta. But for example, if I go ahead and go I do big long, you can see we need to put, I actually can't put more size, but you see depends on the order book depth, but you see here the slippage moves. For example, on 50K, you would not move much, but that changes as per the order book. If we take something that's really not liquid, I assume SWE is one of them, you would see you always get some kind of slippage. And for that, we work back the Hyperliquid order book in real time. Let me go back to this board. Yeah, we fixed a couple of things, like, well, a lot of things. We fixed the fee structure, so now you get the same taker and maker fee as the base balance for Hyperliquid. We will be able to optimize that, but it's what it is for now. I'm not sure. I actually think I actually have to check everything here. Yeah, changing the leverage, that's all good. We fixed a bug on the. We had a bug on the open orders, like the UI was not showing the right thing. If you're using the API, we've added the endpoints leverage limit effective. So you can query that. I've also updated the docs. So if you're running the bot today, you can get what's the max leverage per asset, which then you can put in your margin config, the appropriate asset. If you try to put more leverage, it's gonna throw an error. Yeah, we fixed all of that. Yeah, things that could not get refreshed. For anyone that's helping in the QA, I can show you, but for example, we've added the UID here of your user. That's a local account, so it doesn't really matter. Did I show this? Yeah, cancel all slippage was done. Yeah, and that's I guess the bulk of it. Where our focus is today on the app is make sure we go through all the items, so you see the things that are in progress at the moment. So I think all the details is being shipped right now in the beta environment, funding fee as well, and this is actually ready for QA. We just fixed that before this call, and then we still have some of these issues or features to look at, and then we'll what we've added as well is automated testing through Playwright for the trading terminal. So you can think that on our pipeline, whenever we push an update to the environment, we have Playwright. So like it's basically web instances that acts on behalf of users to test the terminal functionality. So we make sure for every new feature that we add, there is no regression. So typically, the bot would say, okay, let's try and do a limit order. And then, if I put this limit order, let's try and, let's say a limit order at 0.96 for SWE. And then a trigger would be 1, and then stop loss at 0.5. You want to make sure that, okay, this gets added. If I click on TP here, this should work. If I do skip cancel order confirmation, and I do go here, that should cancel automatically. So yeah, just things of the sort that we test on an automated basis. So just timeline for everyone is we're finishing the terminal QA at the moment, and we will QA the full app. So today, when you go to the dashboard, still doesn't look so good, and we will QA this between tomorrow and the day after. Today we're still very much focused on the terminal. Terminal is where 95% of the time will be spent for users, so it makes sense that we just hammer this down. So that's on the front end. So like setting stuff today, settings doesn't work. It's only returning the API key. And on the backend side, we are implementing HIP3, which will be added between tomorrow and day after. And we will do a complete QA of the app on Thursday. And our goal is that we do our first product release. So today, this is a beta environment. And we will do our first product release with a sandbox training environment. So everyone will be able to buy a challenge for free, test out the platform. It's going to enable us to stress test the platform, and then we can go live with our training competition. We want to stress test the system with, today we have about 100 people that signed up to the app and tested it out. So obviously it's not a lot. One thing I can actually show you guys the analytics overview. So we're working on this at the moment, just to show you good analytics. Today looks real crap. If you go on stats, it's just a basic backend pool, raw data. So we've got the endpoints, but we haven't cooked a good UI at the moment. So that's the way it's going to look. I don't see the chat, so if you guys are sending stuff on the chats, I don't see it. I'm on a one PC or one Mac. So it's gonna look pretty simple initially, and we'll improve that over time. But this is gonna take us 1 day to build, yeah, it's things are going well at the moment, I would say. Definitely very intense, but things are exciting, to say the least. There will always be bugs, regression, stuff that's we did not expect to happen, and that will happen. We know how to build software. The goal is to add Playwright as early as possible, which we're doing now, so that we have, and also doing unit tests, so we can ship, especially for the prod environment. What you don't want is if you ship your product and then in prod, once we have funded accounts, that you can't close a trade. So you basically can't have any downtime, and you don't want to have any front-end bugs. Let's say you're not able to cancel an order, things of the sort. You're dealing with actual money, so it's pretty. Your front end has to be really tight. And same as the back end, to be honest. So that being said, I think this concludes the product update part. Now we can look at the 100K to 1 million challenge. Well, we basically haven't done any trade since closing AV shorts. So we were running the AV short. We've held our AV short for 5 days, and we've closed that on. I've shared that on Telegram, but we. If you're wondering, the easiest way to follow the challenge is either on Telegram. So every time we post, like for example, the AV short was closed and it gets streamed directly on Discord. Or there's also a Telegram channel where you can see the stream directly, and I post sometimes. Reality is I just haven't been following the market so much. Well, if not at all. I'm opening the chart for the first time there. My assumption and the way I work is basically I don't want to be excited too much as long as we are in this range. I think there is little for me to do. As long as we are in this range. I'm less of a technical analysis guy. I do big swings, mostly because I don't have time to day trade, and it's also not something that I find super interesting. Like I prefer to build products, etc. But I'm also not very good. If I start to day trade, my profit factor um, isn't there. But the daily, I want to watch for this range to break either to the upside or the downside. I'm happy to hold the position. We've basically held that position from you know we've basically held this position through this. So we've held that through 74, for example. One can argue it was not good risk management, but my view at the moment is that it's a bear market, and so the risk of upside are less than the risk of downside, sorry, or that rather any upside move will mean revert. That's usually how it happens in bear markets, and so holding through short exposure to me is okay. Um, Obviously, I don't want to hold the short if we break on the upside, sustainably. Um, there's always a scenario where, bear market could be over, or things of the sort. So you don't want to be caught off guard. Now, the reason why I hold is also we still have pretty large moves on. Like the conflict is basically not over. We had an insane down move on oil. I have no edge in other markets, so don't ask me anything about this. But as far as I understand, the conflict is not over, and it's like I find the market to be very complacent, but I also don't want to be overconfident that market is due for a reaction. If you look at the VIX, realistically, VIX took major downsides, so people are not fearing anything at the moment, or just not hedging. The S&P is back up to almost pre-conflict. Like that thing just realistically can't go down. So to me, what I see is we're just basically in that range, and I don't want to. I see a lot of people flip-flopping and going long, going short, going long, going short. I would much rather take a stance and hold that position and not micromanage this. But you have to be aware of the fact that BTC over SPX is holding for some time. It's basically not breaking down anymore, and I think a move up would make sense. Like I do think a move up would make sense at some point, but my assumption is still that we will range bound like 50k to 80k. So on my personal book, I'm net short, but I'm also happy to if hold that through like 80k. I wouldn't mind. I wouldn't do it for the challenge, but on my personal book, I'm okay. That's the way I usually do it. Like my average hold time on my book is I think that's about a few weeks. So these are pretty long trades that I take because that's where I have. I mean, that's the way I generated my returns. I think that's the way my hyperliquid address would also show it. I'm not sure on hyperliquid because I did not trade so much on hyperliquid. So yeah, really no, like I think this is a boring market and not much else to say. I don't want to pretend like I'm an expert on oil and just come up with theories. I've got no clue what's gonna happen. I haven't watched the news so much. I don't know. I assume traffic is again on at the Strait of Hormuz, or that there is an oil kind of deal, but you have to be respecting that candle is pretty insane. And otherwise, yeah, just if nothing can take down the S&P, then what will. It's what I'm wondering is if you have major disruption in the Middle East, like how can you expect some move down? So I have little conviction on this short. I do think we can squeeze pretty hard. Um, if the S&P holds here and BTC and crypto finds good relative strength, I think it's a good narrative to do a counter trend rally. So I want to stay very agile on this short position and be ready to cut this, tomorrow or tonight if I have to, and then just be off market. I can see both downside and upside. I just don't. I'm not really sure when I see what to do. It was very easy to be positioned short on Thursday and Friday because of the conflict and headline risks over the weekend. But if things are resolving, you don't want to be bear hold. And if it's hard for me to be long. I don't want to. I think majority of my setups, at least on BTC, I'm not going to short altcoins too aggressively, but because the downside is limited. But at least until the summer, I don't see major catalysts for. I'm not talking about a short-term bounce, but I'm talking about a renewed bull market. I think every big bounce, like let's say we get to 80K, 90K, I think that's a good short. Because the odds of going to all-time high from here are pretty low. So I would favor. It's also better for me to manage the position if I'm short. I just have better risk management. If you were long here, you would have to have really tight risk management to not be taken out. And yeah, so not the best update, I have to say. I mean, not the most constructive update. I myself don't really know what bias to have, and I would say the smartest move would probably to just be flat. But I'm okay to wait for this range to resolve one way or another. If I had to micromanage, I would basically cut and just reassess. But I'm happy to take 4 or 5% move on against me, because that's also the way I do it. I can't, if anyone is telling, and I understand some are, you'll have to get used to it. I'm especially for that challenge. I'm okay to take minus 30% drawdowns on a week. That's, I know, is what it's going to take to achieve this 100K to a million challenge in about 18 months. So if you want to micromanage your pause, it's probably not right to tell me and follow closely what I do. And that's the pattern that we've followed for all of these positions. And but I have to say, I have to look a bit more closely at the market. I haven't been, if I want to be honest, I haven't looked at the market at all today and yesterday. All right, so that's going to be it for today. So I'm reading comments now, but thanks for watching. It's definitely heavy on the product side at the moment. Really interesting. So if you're interested in helping out, you can go to our Discord and then participate in the conversation. Regardless, at the end of next week or probably mid next week, everyone will have access to the product and will be able to test out the product and just see for themselves, test it. It's gonna be exciting. And then we'll have our first trading competition and then we'll have the funding accounts. What you also don't see in the, like, what we don't share publicly is the work that's being done on capital efficiency, risk management, and liquidity management. I probably do a post on how we go about this. But that's the, if you've operated a prop firm, that's the crux or the core of the business, is how you manage capital efficiency between A and B booking. So, for example, a lot of work is being done on the booking algorithm, but also on, if you deploy capital, how much do you how much of the margin do you deploy, and how do you increase capital efficiency of your firm, and how do you, like, even if you're A booking traders, what's the threshold at which you are able to hedge against like high sigma events with option strategies and things that are a bit more exotic. If you have something like the 10th of October happened in crypto, like the big deleveraging event, and both on the long and short, short were rinsed as well. I mean, were filled at the worst price with ADLs. It actually depends on who. But these are things that we don't share so much, mostly because it's not ready, and it's going to take some time. I think, it's a big focus of mine for next 2-3 weeks. And we will share how we go about this transparently as well. We have an AMA that's coming not tomorrow, but day after. We'll discuss about the seed rounds, and we'll discuss about product updates. Like, to everyone, I don't think everyone watches those streams, so I think it's going to be a good condensed summary of where we are, and basically to talk about the progress that we've made and the road ahead. So on that note, I leave you guys. Thanks for watching.